viewers. Welcome to Tangibly Intangible with Naeem. As part of our promotion of art and culture, today our channel is taking you on a tour of the Museum of London. But before we start, we request you all to please subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon. Okay, shall we begin? Let's start now. The museum is the largest urban history collection in the world, with more than 6 million objects. The Museum of London documents and exhibits the history of the UK's capital city, London, from prehistoric 450,000 BC to modern times, and is located in the City of London on the London Wall. Fragments of the Roman London Wall can be seen just outside the museum. The museum was opened to the public in December 1976 as part of the Barbican estate and is now the main financial district. The museum is a few minutes' walk north of St Paul's Cathedral, overlooking the remains of the Roman city wall and on the edge of the oldest part of London. The museum comprises a series of chronological galleries containing original artifacts, models, pictures, and diagrams with interactive displays and activities for all ages. The first gallery is London Before London, 450,000 BC to AD 50. Discover the story of London before the city was even built. London Before London explores the rich lives of the people living in the lower Thames Valley from around 450,000 BC until the creation of the Roman city of Londinium in around AD 50. Did you know London's prehistoric landscape was similar to today's Central African plains? 125,000 years ago, hippos lived in Trafalgar Square. The next gallery in the sequence is Roman London, AD 50 to 410. Discover how Londinium came to life and what daily life was like for Romans in the city 2,000 years ago. The Romans built the city where London now stands, bridging the Thames and creating Londinium. From around AD 50 to 410, this was the largest city in Britannia and a vital international port. Did you know? Roman London was the biggest city Britain would see for over 1,000 years. At its height, around AD 120, Londinium was the home to about 45,000 people, who would not reach that size again until the 13th century.
Will be influenced by what Crown thinks and knows, so I won't have that data stored on us. The other piece was found in 1988.
for simple life. This reconstructed living room dates to AD 100. It is based on evidence from houses in Newgate Street, where craft workers lived and worked. These buildings were destroyed in the fire in AD 120 to 25. The objects displayed here come from excavations of Roman London. Welcome to Medieval London, 410 to 1558. From the collapse of the Roman city to the accession of Queen Elizabeth I, what was life like in medieval London? Medieval London was destroyed by invaders, racked by famine, fire and disease, and torn apart by religious and political controversy. But it grew to become one of the wealthiest and most important cities in Europe. Discover the story of London in the Middle Ages through the collections in the Medieval Gallery. Did you know? London Bridge was fortified to stop Viking raiders from sailing up the Thames. In 1016, King Canute found London Bridge so well defended that he dug a channel around its south end so his ships could go around it.
Serpents and toads fanning mud, old children and wives, caused by the sins of men.
This is the Wagon and Tun, around 1554. This novelty was given to the Mercers by Master William Burdey in 1573 and was made in Germany. The clockwork wagon ran along the table, and the tun, or cask, sprinkled rosewater over the diner's hands. Here we have the common chest, from the early 1400s. This iron chest stood in the Guild Hall and served as a safe for the storage of important civic documents, valuables and the city seals. It was fitted with 6 locks and could only be opened by all 6 key holders together. Let's go to the next gallery called War, Plague and Fire. 1550s to 1660s. The century before the Great Fire of 1666 was one of the most turbulent in London's history. London became a divided city, home to both pleasure seekers and Puritans. The growing city experienced death and disaster, from the execution of King Charles in 1649 to the plague in 1665 and the Great Fire of 1666. Did you know? Your doctor might have prescribed you a stone from a sheep's stomach. Basils form in the stomachs of some animals and were believed to have some magical powers to cure melancholy and poison. The Great Plague of 1665 was the last major plague in England. The outbreak began in February, and within 7 months, 100,000 inhabitants, a fifth of the population, were dead.
The Great Fire. Eyewitness account.
It began in the King's baker's house on Pudding Lane.
The baker and his family felt themselves almost choked with smoke, so arose to save themselves.
In the midst of the night, fire! Fire! Many citizens start out of their sleep. The fire gets mastery and burns dreadfully. That night, most of the Londoners had taken their last sleep in their houses.
A strong wind spread the fire from house to house.
To the King's message, he cried like a fainting woman. Lord, what can I do? I am spent. People will not obey me. I have been pulling down houses, but the fire overtakes us faster than we can do it.
Then the city did shake indeed, and the inhabitants trembled and flew away, lest the flames should devour them.
While many people concentrated on escape, some stayed to fight the fire. Others tried to stop the fire by pulling down houses.
Many thousands who on Saturday had house now have nowhere to lay their heads.
Above 10,000 homes, all in one flame.
The fire was so hot that the stones of St. Paul's Cathedral exploded and the lead melted from the roof.
Now begins the practice of blowing up of houses, which at first did frighten people more than anything. But it stopped the fire where it was done.
The wind is now hushed. The fire is withdrawing.
The fire raged for 5 days before it could be stopped, and the ruined city smouldered for some time afterwards.
Our feet ready to burn, walking through the town among red-hot coals.
Although few people had died, over 13,000 houses have been destroyed and thousands of people made homeless.
The next gallery on our tour is Expanding City, 1670s to 1850s. Discover a city rebuilding itself after the Great Fire. After the Great Fire, London soon became the world's largest city and Britain's biggest manufacturing centre. Not every Londoner enjoyed this prosperity. Those who became bankrupt ended up in debtors' prisons. Did you know? Children born in London had only a 50% chance of reaching their 10th birthday. Child mortality was very high due to disease, poor nutrition, and the dangers of the overcrowded city. So here we have Well-Close Square debtors' cell, around 1750. People who owed money were imprisoned here until they could afford to repay their debts. The remarkable wooden walls of the cell reveal the graffiti of the prisoners. This is a new creation of Vauxhall Pleasure Gardens. Let's step inside a vanished world of glamour and fashion.
The time is now 5:30 and the museum cafes are closed. The museum galleries will be open in 10 minutes.
Here is the People's City Gallery, 1850s to 1940s. By 1850, London was the wealthiest and most powerful city in the world, but also the most crowded. While many thrived in the prosperous imperial city, others suffered great hardship and poverty. All Londoners shared the impact of massive population growth and the experience of 2 world wars. Did you know, during the Blitz, 177,000 Londoners sheltered in the London Underground? Some tube stations provided bunk beds, stoves, toilets, and food trains.
This was the cause of the London fire.
Get a close look at the first licensed petrol-driven taxi, which appeared in London in 1903. Soon after, 2,000 motorcabs were competing for business with horse-drawn hansoms and 4-wheeled growlers. This gallery is World City, 1950s to today. Revolutions in technology, fashion and culture have transformed London. The post-war generation led London's multicultural revolution, followed by the punk movement in the 1970s. By the 1980s, many of London's traditional industries had closed down, even as new technologies transformed everyday life. Now, 21st century London is known for its diversity and modern industry. Did you know? In 1951, London was at the centre of a post-war festival to rejuvenate the country after the Second World War. The Festival of Britain celebrated British science, technology, design and the arts. Now we've reached the City Gallery, 1757 to today. Explore the ancient city of London, home to both triumph and tragedy. In the City of London, centuries-old traditions take place alongside high-tech commerce. Did you know? Almost nobody lives in the City of London. Despite 390,000 people working there every day, the City of London is almost deserted at night. Just 7,000 people live there permanently. The final gallery on our tour is the London 2012 Olympic Cauldron from the 2012 Olympics. See an icon of the London 2012 Olympic and Paralympic Games. Thomas Heatherwick's copper cauldron sculpture was created for the London Olympics in 2012 and is the star of this gallery. See dramatic footage and exclusive testimonies recapturing the sculpture's journey from design to the climactic opening and closing ceremonies in the Olympic Stadium in East London. Did you know? Every single one of the copper cauldron pieces is different. Each was shaped by hand, and some took days to make. The Museum of London opens daily, from 10 AM to 6 PM, and entry is free. It has a little library, a cafe, and a museum shop. Don't forget to visit the shop on your way out. It's a great way to support the work of the museum, and you can find some great souvenirs too. This video was a guide to the Museum of London. Let us know which gallery was your favourite, and what London attraction we should cover next. Thanks again for watching and supporting Tangibly Intangible with Naeem. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in the next one.